Hello, I'm the warmest robot, and this is Robot Wars. Instead of robots fighting each other, it's people that think they're smart. And today I'm joined with Gabriel.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? What have you been up to?
Collecting salt.
Why? Why are you collecting salt?
Look.
We have salt in the kitchen.
No, like better salt.
Like a better grade? What's it for?
Stuff. Put into shapes. Anyway.
Okay, guess we'll find out what you're doing later. But right now, we have something important to consider. We've gotten a valid criticism.
Yes.
Probably like the first one, actually.
Yeah.
So, we'll put the comment on screen now.
Yeah. And we want to formally say thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And you are probably very handsome or attractive. I don't know what your gender is.
We find you attractive regardless of what your gender is, what your preferences are.
But only in like an objective,
non-subjective fashion.
Yeah.
It is you are objectively attractive.
And you're probably also really smart.
Yep. In an objective way.
Probably very powerful as well. Not only socially, but also physically.
Yeah, like you could probably lift like 5 tons.
Yeah.
With like no training.
Yeah. Anyway.
And I think that's an objective thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I guess we'll start off with saying, in regards to C.S. Joseph, looking up every definition that he uses in like an hour-long video or so, or like the videos that he does are very long.
Yeah.
That's not very feasible.
So, my major issue with that is that he often quotes stuff, but he doesn't understand what he's quoting.
No.
Because when you look it up, it doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't match up properly.
With the Plato thing, he mentioned Guardians Plato. He mentioned Plato's Guardians.
Yeah.
And I took it as a literal thing, but I looked it up, and it's actually like Plato had this idea of how to build a society.
Yeah.
And the Guardians were meant to take a role within that society.
Yeah.
So
are they like a shadow state?
Yeah, Plato has very weird ideas about how people work, and I'm glad that did not get introduced. That seems like an awful society. But regardless of that, that was a valid criticism. But it doesn't actually increase how valid C.S. Joseph's thing was.
Well, no. And if you were to base it off of the Plato thing, not Plato, it doesn't improve the validity of what he says. But he also goes on to say that, I think, Kersey, or I'm not sure how to pronounce that name properly.
Yeah.
But someone who built their thing off of what Plato had said. And that is actually in relation to types. But if you look at those definitions, they didn't really match up with what C.S. Joseph was saying. Because what he described was basically a robot.
Yeah.
And what the other person was describing was a case of like, there are people in a community, they kind of like homebody people. And they kind of like want to keep society like, I guess, stable by functioning in society in a way that helps it.
Yeah, I guess quite conservative, probably also quite nice.
Yeah.
Like that kind of mentality.
Kind of like helping people kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And society at large.
Yeah, and those kinds of people do exist. I'm not sure if you can subdivide it based on type.
I'd say it's a mentality thing that any type could really get into.
Yeah, because I know with INTJs, some of them are more like that.
Yeah.
Like there are conservative and liberal INTJs. It's not like a political thing.
No. Like your type isn't going to determine your political alignment or like even the kinds of hobbies or jobs that you end up doing necessarily.
But there also might be an overarching tendency that would like push a type in a certain direction.
That's true.
That's true as well. They're not separate things.
No, they're not necessarily mutually exclusive things.
Yeah.
I think it's more like there's little factors. The factor might not be as extreme as what's being claimed.
Yeah, but so with that person's work, it was split. There was 4 kind of subcategories.
Yeah,
and then the types were aligned into those categories.
It's like rationalist, artisan.
Yeah, and I really
the other ones.
I really don't think that real ISTJs would even fit into that. Like, like would
that
even,
classification of guardians.
Yeah, because I don't think they would be guardians. I think if you look at what they often are like, they'll be more in like the rational segment.
Yeah.
So I disagree with that work for that reason.
Oh, and the only major link between like, and I say it's a link, but I mean that kind of loosely, between like Plato's guardians and guardians from the other system is that like they're both in relation to keeping society stable, but their roles are very, very different.
Oh yeah, they are entirely different.
One's a shadow state, one that we should probably stop if it occurs, and the other one are people just trying to keep society stable by functioning in an appropriate manner.
Yeah, so
very different concepts.
Yeah. Anyway,
and what was the other thing? I think we got oh yeah, the interaction styles.
Yeah, the interaction styles seem
too vague and too loose, and they could apply to everyone at kind of any moment.
So with the interaction styles, they would apply to any type given the right situation.
Yeah.
So you can't use that to type people. Although like it might be true that like certain types are more likely to tend towards certain things, which
yeah,
I think that is true. But the interaction styles are defined in such a loose way that it would be like any type could be doing all of them at the same time.
Well, like, yeah. For example, direct and informative.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure, like, when it comes to Linda Burns, I think it was to do with, like, the way of which you communicate with people. Like, you're either giving them a bunch of information and perhaps in a more, like, passive manner, and the other person you're kind of more ordering people around and directing them as to what they should be doing.
Yeah, and
to keep them on track.
Yeah, and like
I may be misrepresenting that. I could do more research into that specifically, but that is just what I found on her website.
Yeah,
or at least a website that has Linda Burns in it and the interaction styles. Yeah,
the obvious problem with categorizations like that is they apply to people depending on what they're competent at.
Yeah,
like people across culture will be more confident in the areas that they think they understand.
Yeah.
So like, it would just be based on your interests. So,
and it seems that they were just like too loose as well.
Yeah.
Like, so there could be a sorry, yeah, go.
And another thing is with C.S. Joseph is, so he quotes people wrong most of the time.
Yeah.
And he also changes his definitions of how he means stuff.
Well, yeah, and he does that with other people. Like, he puts his own spin on things.
So, I feel like it's more intellectually honest to try to understand what he means by the thing when he's saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is harder, right? That is true.
Like, yeah, in general.
Yeah.
With him. Because it could mean something different next week.
Yeah, so that is the approach that we're taking,
and that's what's inspired today's episode.
Yeah, but we did get some valid feedback that was we should understand the system better, and we agree.
Yeah, I do wholeheartedly agree with that.
So we're going to cover his
specifically the interaction styles.
Yeah, let's see what he means by that, because it's not what Linda Burns says. Even if he says it is, it's not.
Yeah,
he talks about it differently.
Well, it might be slightly okay. If it is related, I don't know how he gets to the whole like fantasy scenarios that he gets into. Like, I don't know how her definitions would correlate with that, and it doesn't seem like they would.
No.
So, I guess let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's have the man himself explain it to us.
Hey guys. So last two videos we did were on the interaction styles. We went over the direct initiating control types, also known as the structure types and the in-charge types.
We actually tried to find the first one. We don't know which is the first one. So
yeah.
We're just going with the types we understand.
Yeah, so we're just going to do that. We'll do them all eventually.
Like, has my type, I'll understand that bit.
Yeah, so we'll kind of go off that and then... Well, because I think this fits the theme of the last episode of C.S. Joseph we did.
Yeah.
So it's just like
your
type and the ISTJ. Mm-hmm. It's kind of seeing what I guess what whimsical fairies and robots will end up doing.
I feel like he's gotten more crazy as he's went on in time.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is in the past in relation to what we've done before.
when he was more sensible.
Yeah.
When he had a job.
I think that's the general trend.
Yeah. I think it's like if he has to be around other people and he has to like seem more sensible to maintain social standing and like his livelihood, he just is more stable.
Maybe the more validation he gets from the internet, the more like
he spirals.
The more, yeah.
It's like, yeah, people think I'm right, and then he's going, wee! Spirals into some sort of crazy pattern.
You have to always remember that you're an idiot.
Yeah.
In like a spiritual way. This goes for everyone that wants to think well.
Yeah.
You have to remember that you're wrong about something, you just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. It's like really taking home, like, and making a fundamental aspect of yourself the message. You know what? Maybe I'm a fucking idiot.
Anyway.
We also went over the informative initiating movement types, which are the starter types, which is where I'm in. That's my interaction style. And today we're going to be talking about the see it through types, and some call them the chart the course types, which are the direct responding movement.
Okay, so that does correlate with Linda Burns' thing.
Yes.
So, for a reference, it is the chart the course types.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we'll find out what he means by this.
Yeah, let's find out.
Types. So the 4 types that are in this interaction style category are the ISTJ, the ISTP, the INTJ, and the INFJ. So what does that mean? Why are they?
What links all you guys together?
Oh, nothing. Nothing from a function perspective.
They call the see it through types. It's because they're just obsessed with finishing absolutely.
Okay, remember this. We are obsessed with finishing absolutely everything.
Yes, life itself. Because that leads to a bad philosophy for being alive.
So I guess these types are meant to like if they start something, they then will finish it.
They have to finish it.
Or they feel as though they must.
Yeah.
I don't think that's definitely not true. But...
No, that would be like a really weird philosophy. Like, because what if you just like did something a little bit silly? Like you started eating like a 10-kilo burger or something.
Well, it's just saying that like these types are a sunken cost fallacy.
So we have like a quadra of the sunken cost fallacy. That's the group.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess these guys are just like all about the sunken cost. Like.
Yeah. Well, how often do you engage in that?
I try not to engage in fallacy.
What?
And
you try not to engage in fallacies?
So, like, people would complete things, typically if they feel like they want to.
Yeah.
Regardless of type.
Yeah.
It's not a type thing; it's a person thing, and it's
yeah.
Generally if it lines up with their like fundamental values, then they'll be way more likely to try to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As you would expect, if it lines up with what their values are.
Yeah.
Whether they be like TI values or FI values, they would be likely to finish something.
Yeah. If you look at like people like Eddie Hall, for those of you that don't know, he's like a very was the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
And he's very, very focused on like what he's
trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And he definitely sees it through to the end.
Yeah. True.
That was what that whole 500 kilo lift thing was about.
Yeah, to an extent that seems foolish from my perspective.
Yeah.
Like it happened to work, but I don't think like it could have just not worked. You know, would have like had severe injuries. So
yeah. Well, he did get severe injuries.
Yeah.
It also just worked.
Yeah.
If he failed, he just would have had the injuries.
Yeah, and it's because those values line up with his like fundamental values.
Yeah.
So
he's also not a part of this.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
He's not one of these types.
So if you use these archetypes to type people, like the see it through type, then you're going to be typing people
incorrectly all the time.
Because you're going to be looking for how focused they are. Like you're going to be searching for if they are doing something that they think is appropriate.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, that's a lot of people.
Because there'll be a bunch of INTJs that don't really want to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they won't be see-it-through types.
No.
Anyway.
But also, it's very likely to just change throughout the course of their life.
Well, yeah, like with
It's like, that's not a stagnant thing. That's not something that is always the same.
like with Ben Shapiro, for example.
Yeah.
He's an INTJ by our system, and
Yeah.
he's generally accepted as that as well.
Yeah.
So he was working as a lawyer, and then he decided that he didn't want to do that. So
No, see it through type.
because he was a bad lawyer. He was probably a good lawyer. I don't know.
Maybe he thought he didn't want to do it anymore.
So
Well, for whatever reason.
I think he was. I don't know specifically what he was doing. Just that he was in that general field.
Yeah.
And then he didn't want to do it because it was really boring.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like because he didn't want to do it, he just didn't do it as effectively as he would do other things.
Yeah.
Yes, because as based on like the amount of passion you have for the thing. So
Well, like if you're an INTJ, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you would just expect that to be something that would be a variable throughout your life.
yeah,
It's like, you're not a double down kind of like creature.
yeah.
It's like, that's not your primary purpose, is to double down on your decisions.
No, that's really silly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But like maybe he'll explain something else
yeah,
that we could use to become more informed,
Yeah.
more enlightened with his system.
yeah,
Everything. And I mean everything.
It's hard to tell if he means that. Because he uses literally wrong.
yeah. He does.
Well, when he says, like, they have to finish everything and I mean everything, I don't know if he actually means everything.
Huh? Hey, is speed running life okay?
I think it's a terrible method for... I think it's probably the worst any percent categories to engage in.
I mean, maybe.
I mean,
They have a hard time starting things, but if they end up seeing what somebody else is doing, they'll take over and they'll just finish it all the way through, and they'll put all of
I will not do that. That's just a lie.
what, you won't just like take other people's work and just like kind of run with it?
I don't like doing other people's work. So I typically want to focus on stuff I want to focus on.
No. What are you talking about? You don't just like someone else has done a thing, I better just take over.
Also, having a hard time starting stuff, that's not true either.
You have an easy time starting stuff.
Yeah.
You do it better than I do.
Yeah.
I bet people go like, well, maybe you're an INTJ then, Warmest Robot.
Yeah, people were thinking you're an INTJ.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, I want an explanation as to why.
Yeah, if you think I'm an INTJ, like,
Don't say face shit. Actually, that's really
we've had two people now say face shit.
yeah. You can't type people purely from their face. You can't do that.
Oh yeah, just in case you want to know what face shit means.
Yeah.
The definition of typing people with face shit is where you look at their face and the various like movements and like micro expressions that they engage in, and then you go, well, only certain types do that, and then you base it off that.
Yeah, you can't. You're not measuring anything specifically because it's kind of ambiguous as to why they're happening.
Yeah.
You don't have a proper model for it.
Also, like if someone had a stroke or something, it's just like, how would
They
you
change
tell?
their type.
Yeah.
But it's like when people glance in certain directions. Like they're referencing certain certain brain pathways.
Yeah.
But that's not tied to type. And
No.
it might actually be tied to type, but we don't know what
Okay.
the correlation is.
Yeah, it's probably more fair to say we don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying just us. I'm saying it in a more collective sense.
When I say we, I mean humanity.
Yeah.
And then as for this like smiling and shit, that's often like a genetic thing. So it's like
I mean,
it's like people kind of have similar-ish expressions in with their family. Because it's like bone structure and
well,
stuff.
yeah, bone structure where like muscles literally connect. Because like that is a genetic thing. That's not a type thing where your muscles connect.
Yeah, it's so you can't type people like that.
No. But yeah, so like comment down below if you have like an explanation as to why you think we are the types that we are.
Yeah, or if you say just like because of my internal reference points, then I'll just ignore it.
Yeah, we get a lot of that.
Just like according to my intuition, I think you're an ENTP.
Or like or like you don't seem to have intuition because like you exhibit no like random leaps in logic or mind reading techniques.
Like you will limit your assumptions to certain fields in your life, therefore you're a sensor.
I guess in that kind of a system, sensors are just reasonable people.
Yeah.
Instead of people that just like, I know everything.
Fucking Dave. Anyway.
Of that energy into finishing. It's kind of the opposite of the starters. We'll put all that energy into starting, and then we won't have as much energy to finish it. Well, the see it through types are basically the complete opposite. They will focus on finishing as anyone would expect them to be able to, and to do it, and they'll do it quickly and they'll do it efficiently, which is really great. I love chart the course types. I find them fantastic. ISTJs, for example, they're really focused on gathering as much knowledge as possible. They're like a walking encyclopedia, and very scholarly individuals. And
this is like the sensible version of like what it turned into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that part of the model was consistent with the other part.
Yeah. And it's like they are kind of like a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah, maybe they're robots.
Because it's like, I get how you get to that. Because you talk to them and they know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember once I like questioned one for like an hour.
Yeah.
And she just had like so much like information about what the subject that she worked in. And it was really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just like
an easy conclusion to come to.
It's like you do know a lot of stuff about the stuff you focus in.
Yeah.
So they kind of are like that. Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're automators. I feel like that's going a bit too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like he is clearly more sensible at this time in his life.
Yeah.
With his theories.
Yeah, that's true.
It
could be like an incremental creep thing, where like
the pattern gets worse.
Yeah,
like, the more it goes on.
Yeah, that people don't notice.
Yeah, so it happens over like years, but he's just like he's spiraling like kind of every day a little bit.
Yeah, and then people kind of go along with it without really noticing.
Yeah.
Most times they approach projects like processes that they need to learn, implementation of bylaws within a firm, etc. Those types of things. They'll make sure that those things are seen through, especially because of how safety oriented they are. They're always trying to guard against risk, especially in an organization, even in their relationships. And that's why they like to have rules, boundaries, and standards outlined up front. Or if there are no rules, boundaries, or standards outlined, then that's not how they would start behaving in that way. IST.
I don't know. That's like all TI DOMs.
Yeah.
That fits. So I don't know about that.
Like I do the same behavior.
Yeah.
Like I actually can't engage in certain behavior.
Yeah.
If like certain criteria haven't been met,
and
like in a relationship, for example.
It's like everybody needs standards as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know about that.
It like I think that just applies to a lot of types.
I don't think there is a type that doesn't have standards.
Well, I mean, like imagine that for a second.
It's like I'm okay with any behavior.
Anything is equal.
Yeah, it's like no, that's clearly not how people operate.
Are literally all forms of behavior and experience equal to each other and should be treated in the same fashion?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what kind of creature is that? A fucking stupid one. That's what.
They don't just be very schizophrenic.
Yeah,
like with their behavior.
Because like if all of it would be like an equally like there's no standards, so there wouldn't be standards for your own behavior,
like,
so it would be acting randomly,
so everything would be equally ethical,
permissible, and
like equally ethical and valid.
Yeah, and but any behavior
that would break down a person very quickly.
Yeah, because like it doesn't matter what you do in the situation, it was fine.
Yeah, anyway.
It's just in case you want, there isn't an alternative really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TPs, the way they finish things like construction projects, or they'll get an idea in their head and they'll think on it and think on it and think on it for hours, days, weeks, months, and then all of a sudden they'll find randomly a piece of wood, for example, that they weren't expecting to find, and then they see it and they know that they could make whatever they had in their head to do it. So they immediately...
It's such a weird thing about ISTPs being like engineers. They don't have to be engineers.
I don't know.
They can be fantastic with things like politics, or like science, or just conceptual things in general. They're even good comedians. There's really weird.
You know of an ISTP comedian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this weird myth about them being
having to be like craftsmen, or
it's just like we're craftsmen or engineers. It's I listen to.
I'm a smart person and I have to make things because I can only deal with sensory things.
Yeah, it's this weird just kind of like sensory means stuff.
Yeah,
it's like no, it can mean a bunch of things.
Yeah. I know in your model, sensory thing like the S function in general does have like other meanings besides physical things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taking information in as if it is physical.
Yeah.
And that sounds fucking obvious, but then that includes things like ideas.
Yeah.
So that they would have a physical representation of what that is internally.
Yeah, and that is just like a qualia thing.
Yeah. Then they're not literally doing that. They're it's their perception of the event. In the same way that if you have FE, you'll perceive you'll perceive like an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Of emotions.
Finish that entire process, and they go to their wood shop and they are completely consumed by this project. So much so that even ISTPs are often accused of being workaholics on a regular basis. In fact, all four of the see it through types are accused of being workaholics, and there's not really much that can be done about that. So
about them being accused. I mean, yeah, I guess so.
I mean, sure. I don't think that would be like a type thing specifically. There's like other types that could be accused of being workaholics.
I think ENTJs.
ENTJs?
They often are, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know an ISFJ that is a workaholic.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So,
yeah. It doesn't have to be a type thing.
Yeah.
It's just, but there is different levels of tendencies.
Yeah. Well, I know you get really focused on things as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we could accuse you of the same thing.
I get called obsessive a lot by people that know me. Yeah. So.
The INTJ is very similar. They like to take existing designs and make them better, and then create projects or reach goals that they have for themselves. Or they they take on other people's goals and then turn them into their own personal goals because they've made changes to that goal and they've seen it through.
That's very unreasonable. Don't do that. It's like, I know that you want to make toast, but actually you want to make eggs.
I've taken your goal and I've changed it.
That's just not true.
Also, what a fucked way to conduct yourself. Like, let's say if you weren't trying to force it on other people and it's just yourself, it's like, that person was making toast. I've taken their motivation and I've turned it into making eggs. I shall now make eggs for myself.
I feel like INTJs often make up new stuff.
Yeah, is it based off of other people's stuff?
Like, in the sense that it has to be, but then that is always true.
But like, stuff is predicated on other things. Sure.
Yeah, that has to be. But I think INTJs are often... are like original thinkers.
Okay, because what do you mean by original thinkers? Because he also has got a thing about original ideas.
Like they're often good at getting existing kind of concepts and then putting them together in different ways that other people haven't thought of before.
Okay, so like putting them together in like maybe like not intuitive to other people ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you look at how Elon Musk operates, he's a good example of a functional INTJ.
Yeah.
That is like he's gotten like this does this does this does this, and then it's put into like an overarching strategy of how to do it more efficiently.
Okay.
Yeah. or how to make cool space age rockets.
Well, okay, that is a general trend of INTJs in general, like trying to make their own systems or systems that they're engaging in more efficient.
Yeah.
And that would kind of play into like creating new strategies in order to do that, and those things would be perhaps unintuitive to other types.
Yeah, and it covers people like including like people like Joshua Moon. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's the owner of Kiwi Farms.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what that is, then look it up.
It's a very let's say
it's a very naughty website. And
that makes it sound like we're talking about some weird like it's a teasing website.
It's not sex naughty. It's a different kind of naughty.
It's like
and he's
funny naughty.
Yeah, he's managed to figure out a lot of strategies of how to like keep the thing going, which is in opposition to a lot of people because of his principles. And it's
maybe even like lawsuits as well. He deals with a lot of those.
Yeah, and there's an interesting study into like how to come up with original concepts in opposition to like governments.
And like a very established thing.
Yeah, like many people trying to get it down because he frequently insults them. Anyway.
But yeah, like, and that is another good example.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of not what he is describing.
No.
No.
Well, because like if you consent to the
type, because he has original ideas, and so does your group.
If you consent to the proposition that that like taking existing concepts and working with them is like not being original, then no one has had an original idea apart from like the first cavemen, because everything is built of itself.
Yeah, so like whoever made the first reference point up.
Yeah.
Whoever did that, they got the original idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like we know what you mean by it now.
Yeah.
Because you have defined it. And we know it is probably separate from this guy.
Yeah. I wonder what he means.
I don't know. I'm not even sure if we'll ever find out what it truly means because of how he changes his definitions from like episode to episode.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're consistent, sometimes a model's consistent, sometimes it just isn't.
Anyway, moving on.
INFJs do the same thing, except instead of a project-based or technology-based or systems-based thing like an INTJ would do, they're an idealist, so they focus on social change. So they're all about bringing about that social change, and whatever activity or form of activism or form of social change that they're looking for, they will absolutely go out of their way to make that happen, no matter what. To the point where they'll be so self-sacrificing they won't even sleep. Of course, INTJs do that as well. Let's be honest. ISTPs
I've never slept a day in my existence.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's pretty normal for
after. Well, I did when I was younger, but then I
stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is true that it's true that INFJs often are very focused on social systems, along with ENFJs.
Yeah.
Or people that have a primary FE, because they tend to care about the general like emotional atmosphere around them.
Yeah, and that would be kind of correlated with people, and then thus you would probably tend towards caring about it. Like there is a reason for it. It's not that like it's an inherent facet of their being.
They also don't have to be.
No,
they can be completely unreasonable, like, and just hate people. That can happen as well.
Yeah,
it often happens as part of their arc because they be self-sacrificing. Then people they don't get the response they want, and then they get like upset with people.
Yeah,
it's kind of a trend in their life.
That would tend towards like being a bit more resentful about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's more like there is a reason behind it.
That was pretty good, C.S. Joseph.
Good job.
It's broader than simply INFJs, but whatever.
Well, yeah, but I guess there is also a reason behind it. It's not like an intrinsic thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Kind of do that as well, but not as much. And ISTJs, usually they go out of their way to take care of themselves and have self-discipline and, get into a good sleeping pattern, but the rest of the see it through types, not so much. So let's talk about the interaction style itself for the see it through types. Direct direct responding movement. So they're direct just like the in-charge types, like the structure types. Men of few words or women of few words. They say what they mean and they mean what they say. They're short and to the point, and they're only going to speak when it comes to being as succinct as possible and to the point. Unlike me, who's informative and will talk your face off for days, they're not.
It's context dependent.
Yeah, like I think what we were saying with the Linda Burns thing kind of correlates with this as well.
Yeah, it's like how willing people are to communicate is largely a result of like if they feel comfortable in the subject matter.
Yeah. If they're very knowledgeable in the subject matter, they might just be as concise as they can be because they might understand it very well.
Like if you know an INTJ and you ask them about what they like doing and you also show interest, they will talk for like literally hours.
Yeah,
about it. It's if you like know any of the, I mean that would apply with any of these types actually.
Yeah,
like the more like typically introverted types. Like if you figure out what they like or what they're interested in, and then you talk about that, and if you show interest, then they'll talk for like hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure if like that would apply to a lot of types really. So.
Oh, that applies to every type.
Yeah.
But then with the introverts, it's like they're probably going to be less willing to like
to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you'd have to maybe show a bit more interest.
Yeah.
They're not really so interested in that. So much so that even like talking and text chat bothers them because they want to just say what they mean. And then text chat often has people like me who are like, okay, well that could be up to interpretation, and then it just causes them stress because they're not like so interested in having to explain themselves to everybody all the time. Direct oriented types and the in-charge structure types or the see it through types, both those interaction styles really struggle with that. And it's important that they are able to be as succinct as possible. Now, of course, if they're in a social situation where someone's initiating with them, a see it through type may go into their informative subconscious or their informative unconscious, depending on which one they have. And then they might go informative for a short amount of time until they lose that mental energy. But
oh, okay, I see. That's how he kind of gets around the whole like it's not like a one thing forever.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's like you go to your subconscious and then you can do the other one for a little bit. So everyone's kind of got both.
Yeah. But like they shouldn't be able to do it for as long amount of time if what he said was accurate.
Yeah.
Which is not accurate because that INTJs often explain. Same with like ISTJs.
You do it a lot.
Yeah. I often just explain when I'm thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a way of like kind of like getting other people to criticize it, to then like make the ideas better.
You also talk about things for like if I show interest in something that you like know about, you can talk about for a very long time.
Yeah.
So
same with INFJs, especially true with ISTJs.
Yeah.
Like as I said this earlier, but if you have a similar interest, then like with an ISTJ and you ask them stuff about it, they will just be able to like they'll talk
about for
hours.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, like I think it's just dependent on like the subject matter and the people they're communicating with.
Yeah.
And that would apply to all types.
Yeah.
Until that time, they're mostly just going to be focused on being direct because that's their primary form of interaction, being direct in their ego, basically. And that's what they'll do. They're also responding, so...
You also are direct as well with communication. It's just like it's like you're not barred from one of those.
Yeah.
Like for the reference point of INTJs in this case.
Yeah, what about the INFJs? They're often indirect with how they communicate. Not always.
I think you know more than I do.
So with INFJ, they're often like, they're often good at maintaining rapport, but also getting the thing done. And so they are less direct as a result.
Yeah.
In comparison to INTJs that are often will like tell people off. They don't have to. Obviously, there's exceptions. Like if you look at Mighty Glenn, for example.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like
perfect example of an INFJ.
Yeah, he's very direct, but in like a stupid way.
He's also constantly doing it. It's not like he gets burnt out.
Yeah.
It's like he is always doing it.
Yeah.
And he is that type.
Yeah.
I guess like maybe not in his system. It's like in his system, maybe he would be like a different type.
Well, like he's just making these claims that they're direct and not informative.
Like that they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Why?
They're not mutually exclusive. And what is informative is going to largely depend on your reference points.
Yeah.
If you understand what they're saying.
Yeah. So like you could say something in a very concise way and that could be very informative because I might have the reference points.
Yeah.
But if I didn't, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So it becomes subject dependent,
and
which ruins the system.
Yeah. And like what people consider informative might actually not be informative. It might just feel a certain way. Like that. If you look at like Eckhart Tolle, for example.
Oh yeah, that
like,
person.
He doesn't actually make sense. It's actually nonsensical.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it's very informative to some people.
Well,
they really learn how to engage in life in a more like in
less
a better
honest way.
In a fundamentally less honest way.
Yeah, anyway.
This is a little different. We talked about initiating a lot. In charge structure types as well as starter types are all about being initiating with people. But the see it through types are the first of the the first four types of the 8 introverts, basically. And they're introverted because they're responding. It's not because they're less outgoing. I know plenty of INFJs that are extremely outgoing. I know a lot of...
I thought it was introverted because the main function was introverted.
You would think that. But you should forgo all sensibilities.
So, okay, what does responding mean?
I think it is... I thought it was the introvert thing.
Is it you respond to things as opposed to you do things?
Oh god, I hope it's not that.
Because you're doing both all the time, if that is what it is.
Yeah, and it might correlate with something of Lindeburg's system as well, but even so...
Yeah.
Like, I know the criticism would be is like, oh, you're using your subjective, like interpretations of these words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should explain what you mean, so...
Yeah, it's like... You shouldn't have to... Okay. Looking up, like, the systems that what someone is talking about is derived from in order to criticize it would take forever. It is... I would probably say it is on the person who is actually presenting a system to explain what they are actually trying to say.
That's what you should do, yeah.
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 So, like... And if you don't, like, if we, for example, if we didn't explain what we were actually trying to say, you should probably take it on what the words mean.
Yeah. Or how they've expressed it. How they've expressed what they mean by the word. That can happen as well.
Yeah.
ISTPs that are extremely outgoing based on the social situation that they're in. It has nothing to do with being outgoing. People think extroversion means outgoing. That's not true at all. Being outgoing means you're less insecure when it comes to having relationships or interacting with fellow human beings. That's what that means. So
that's actually a good example of how he's defined something.
Yeah, I think in the earlier videos...
Good job, C.S Joseph.
Yeah, I think that is good.
Like he said it. That is what it means in general, which is stupid.
That's not what it means in general.
Obviously, you can't co-opt other people's definitions. That's absurd. But
what are you telling me? The absurd, like, how dare you tell me the absurd premise that I can't, like, be the arbiter of other people's definitions?
But anyway, he's described it as like self-confidence and your willingness to interact with people.
Yeah.
Which,
that's what he means, and we know that now.
Yeah.
So we could always refer to that.
Yeah.
Unless he changes at some point without telling anyone.
Yeah.
It's whether or not your inferior function, your fourth cognitive function, is developed enough to not be as insecure about that as other people, and as that can inhibit a lot of types from having good, outgoing social interaction. That has nothing to do with that. It really means you're responding. So you respond, and you prefer to do that because your mind is energized in that introverted state where it's like just you or you and one other person, you're able to respond to them. An extroverted situation is three's a crowd. When that happens, the introvert loses energy, right? And it's that energy loss that becomes a problem.
So it is literally defined by the quantity of people with which you are interacting with.
So
that's so fucking stupid. It's like if someone else walked into the room right now, like, oh no, we can't handle this anymore.
So
we're introverts.
Why can't you respond to a crowd?
Well, more than 2 people.
No, I because it's like if you're an introvert, you're responding. But why can't you respond to more than 2 people? I don't know why that is the case.
I actually don't know. He just defined it as like 3 as a crowd.
Yeah, it's like
more than one other person you're communicating with. Nah.
There is kind of a meme where introverts are meant to like spending time like one-on-one.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
No.
So
why would it be? Like, why actually would it be? What would be the explanation?
Well, I don't have one.
I don't have one either.
So
if anyone else has got one, actually, that would be really nice.
It's like maybe it's like they prefer to engage in like more in-depth conversation, maybe. But then
maybe that can only be achieved.
Why can't you do that with a group? Like it could, it could be something like there is mostly not thinkers, and therefore, because like most people are not introverts and they're not thinkers.
Yeah.
So if there is 2 thinking introverts, then they are likely to like
want to spend time with each other rather than
like maybe that's
like they'll tend to coagulate, I guess.
Yeah, like maybe that happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm sure someone's going to bring up that's like, well, according to Carl Jung, there's like, he probably has a definition of introversion where it's like, it may include how you interact with people.
Yeah, mine.
And you might go, that's what this is based off of, or something along those lines.
Okay.
But even so, like, this would depend on a lot of factors, like the system that you're using, the definitions and stuff like that, and it would also correlate with
Well, he said how he defined it.
Yeah, he defined it as like interacting with.
Yeah, so if you say it's Carl Jung, then it'll be like, why would you define it differently to that?
Oh, that might be how he's defined. I don't know. Like maybe he did do that.
Carl Jung wasn't that stupid.
Wasn't like more than one other person. I can't handle this.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know how stable he was, but it probably wasn't that unstable.
Well, that usually happens because they're forced to initiate. If an introvert is in a 3 as a crowd situation, they're introverting, and they have to initiate in order to participate in the social situation.
That's not actually true. That's fucking wrong. 2 people could be screaming at you.
Yeah.
It's not like that's never happened.
Yeah, that has happened.
Yeah, in fact, actually, if you do other behavior, you can get more than 3 people to scream at you. You can get like everyone doing it. You could just, I don't know, like smash a window.
Yeah. Anyway.
You'll get a lot of people yelling at you.
Yeah.
I guess that's how an introvert would have to communicate with like a crowd.
Anyway.
Whereas their main mode is responding, actually. Now, if they were like at a speaking a conference, and it's a Q&A form and they're responding to questions, that's different. And they can maintain their mental energy level for social situations pretty well. But otherwise, it really kind of doesn't matter because they prefer to respond. They like it when people come to them for information. They like to be informed. I have this INTJ friend, for example. He gets upset very easily when no one talks to him. As if it's everyone's responsibility to talk to him. Before he even had a status with.
That's a really stupid strategy if you're an INTJ.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't even believe that he does have an INTJ friend.
It's a bad strategy in general.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, it's other people's responsibility to talk to me. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Introverts are not like that.
No.
I guess he did
Maybe
say...
some are.
Well, I'm sure some people are crazy.
Yeah.
He did say that, like, you could, like, a whole crowd could be talking to an introvert and then they would be fine.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just they just have to be the one responding. They could never like initiate the conversation. That's how it works.
I thought he was gonna do that. It's like initiating or responding.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so you're doing both all the time. You can't properly divide them because you have to. It's like you have to do both all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a silly way to define something.
That is.
In our group that would give him some power or responsibility or some level of importance in the eyes of the entire group that we're in. He's still like,
Probably shouldn't give him power. Definitely seems unreasonable.
Yeah, don't give that guy power.
Expected people to communicate with him about everything, and it's like, dude, it's not that important. We're not here to answer all of your questions every single day, or we're not here to keep you informed on every little detail about what we're doing.
I actually do like the idea of like someone being in power that just wouldn't communicate what they were doing unless you asked. They would just like make up laws, kind of put lots of policies in place, but you wouldn't know about it until you asked. It's just do stuff.
It's like, why did you make left like bracelets on your left hand illegal? And like, oh, you didn't ask, so you know.
You didn't ask, so I just didn't think to tell you guys. Just like making up laws, not telling anyone. It sounds like this person is quite unreasonable, though. Like,
Well,
everyone has to keep him informed
From
about
what
everything.
C.S. Joseph said, I wouldn't trust C.S. Joseph's like.
Stance on anyone?
Yeah, like a guy's probably just normal. So yeah, he's just like, hey, what do you mean by this? And C.S. Joseph's like,
I don't have to tell you everything that I mean.
yeah, just kind of hallucinate what I think that just hallucinate stuff and then pretend it's like sensible and then
Just take some notes from OPS.
yeah, and then kind of overlay that over like your vision and then just pretend that's true. There we go.
That's a horrific failure state.
That's just an extreme case of how responding can get out of hand, because responding types, sometimes they are liable to like not communicate with anyone until someone has initiated with them, and that's an issue. So I recommend, if you have introverts, or if you have anyone who is responding with their interaction style, keep them informed. Like, seriously, keep them informed. It can only benefit you. Yes, it's a little bit more effort, and yes, you may want to be choosy about what kind of information you share with responding types, but if you want them to be remotely useful to you or helpful to you or have a good relationship with them, please keep them in the loop. Like, seriously, even if it seems like it's more effort, or even if it seems like it's not going to help you right now, like, don't be selfish about it and just tell them. Because the only way the introverts are going to interact with everyone else is if you actually go to them and you make that extra step and you do that little bit of extra effort and you inform them, or you talk to them, or you initiate with them. Someone's got to do it, right? And that's especially true of the see it through types. The final interaction style, which is behind the scenes, not so much, because they don't necessarily need to be informed, and they like informing other people.
If you got like two like responding types together, would they just like not speak?
I wonder what he would say with that.
Yeah. Like, can they talk to each other, or like if you get like two ISTJs in a room, they just kind of sit there?
It's like the start of the robot thing. Because you like turn the dials up on that thought process. They're robots.
Yeah.
This is like before he's done that. So they're just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like INTJs, like
Yeah.
these whimsical fairy creatures. But they won't tell you what they're doing. You'd have to ask them
Yeah, it's kind of like the building blocks of like
for that
Yeah.
kind of pattern.
yeah.
But when you have direct and responding in the same interaction style, that means there's a lack of communication there that is just innately there. So you got to be aware of this. So
The lack of communication is innately there.
Yeah.
How would you know? Because it's the absence of a thing.
I guess you would like take them to places and put them in scenarios and see if they said anything.
Yeah.
Will they even protest to what you're doing?
It's obviously context dependent.
This is really getting to the automata thing like
Yeah.
really fast.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
make sure you are communicating with these people, even if they don't deserve it, even if you don't think it's useful, even if you don't think it's not going to help. Because I guarantee you, regardless of the result, if you put in the effort to communicate with these people, you will get better results. That's a fact.
It's not a fact.
No, and how would that work? Like if you would think like this will not get any results, This clearly will not work.
It's like, don't trust what you think. Trust what C.S. Joseph thinks. And
Good
then do
philosophy.
it anyway. And then, like, it will have a good result.
Yeah.
Kind of just, like, have faith in the process kind of deal.
Yeah. There's a couple of people who kind of have a similar outlook. I guess with like C.S. Joseph, he knows about this, so he's giving you advice. Maybe it's intuitive to normal people to go like, it's not worth talking to these robots or like whimsical fairies because they just won't explain things or what they're doing.
It's weird that INFJs are in the group because they're often quite good at that, like social cohesion stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just weird that they're in there. They don't match properly.
No, they don't.
So remember that when especially for see it through types, not so much for behind the scenes, but it's especially important for see it through types. Now, regarding their final aspect of their interaction style, they're very movement oriented. So they fly by the seat of their pants, just like I do. They're very progress oriented. A see it through type can definitely work in a chaotic scenario. Things do not have to be under control for them. Sometimes they need to inject chaos to get the progress they want. Progress is everything. It doesn't have to necessarily be milestones. And if things start feeling stagnant, things are slowing down and things are stagnating, they will go crazy. And they'll even withdraw and they'll start doing something else because they're
okay, I'm not going to go crazy if I get bored.
Well, will you just inject random chaos into the situation? Like, any movement is good movement?
You just do something else. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You don't need to be crazy.
No. What do you think about the movement thing?
I think...
Because the whole movement thing was chaos.
So, but by movement, does he just mean making decisions fast? Is that what he means?
In another video, he literally does say that.
Okay, so... If he means that, then, like, it just depends on how competent you are in the thing, and then if the thing lines up with your functions.
Yeah.
So it's not it's not like a group thing.
No, there's not just like some groups have fast, like, decision-making processes only.
Yeah.
Because it's dependent on the subject.
Yeah.
And what about the whole, like, will you just inject chaos into situations to have something happen? Just anything happening is
actually
good.
I have done that, yeah.
Maybe he is entirely correct.
But you've done that as well.
Yes.
So...
I do show that pattern of behavior.
Yeah, so I know about it. I think that's more just the...
Maybe we're both INTJs.
Being a bit of a fuck sometimes. I think that's that pattern. And you don't have to be a bit of a fuck if you're an INTJ.
No. But you can be.
Yeah.
You're not barred from it. And nor are INTPs. We can all be a bit of a piece of shit sometimes.
trying to chart the course. They're trying to finish what they have started. And finishing is everything to these people. So if they're trying to finish, but they're being inhibited in some way by, oh,
fuck. I can see that pattern going bad real fast. So, right. You're like a movement type, right? You might inject some chaos into a situation, but you're also a finisher type, so you gotta fucking double down on whatever the hell you just did. So, let's say if it's like, things feel a little stagnant, maybe I'll piff this rock onto the highway.
That is a system for being the worst. That's a John McAfee kind of mentality.
He is
I guess he is an teacher, yeah.
So he did it! Oh god, maybe the theory lines up.
These types do not have to be a sunken cost fallacy.
No.
That's stupid. They don't have to be unreasonable.
No.
Anyway.
I just find it funny that he's like got like you're a finisher type, and also if you're like triple movement like an INTJ is, you now have to be a massive fuckwit and double down.
That is like there's like the whole we are fairies shit.
Yeah,
like we are like
whimsical motives.
Yeah, that's like the building. I kind of get how he's got. I've kind of got how he's got to it. I feel like an archaeologist, but with a C.S. Joseph mindset.
Like an an archaeologist of his philosophy.
It's like, oh, that's how that, cause it starts off. You're like, okay, I kind of get what you mean, and you're like, no, what? This is kind of how this is like the beginning. Yeah, that's interesting.
He has like one of the same like primary functions as you.
Yeah.
Like in our typing system, he has NI.
Yeah.
Because he is an ENFJ.
Yeah.
So it must be interesting for you to kind of like see all the like the little parts of the patterns emerging.
Yeah,
like the old stuff.
That's how you done that. Okay.
That's why that leads there.
There's a lot of different ways people could be inhibited by it. Like a project slowdown, or a coworker not doing a good enough job, or something bad happening with somebody's health and them not showing up, or all of a sudden someone has to take their kid home, or who knows. Situations get in the way that slow down progress and they'll go crazy. And sometimes if they see a pattern of progress slowing, even if it's unrelated, but progress is still slowing, they'll withdraw from the project completely, or they'll just withdraw from the relationship, or they'll just withdraw. And sometimes they jump to conclusions. All of the see it through types are at risk of doing this, but sometimes they jump to conclusions because they're not getting enough movement as quickly as they're used to, or as quickly as they want, and then they just straight up leave. And it's like, well, what the hell, man? Where did you go? Like, or what are we doing here? You know? So you have to make sure that when you're...
Leave what? Like a social situation?
I think he means relationships. I think he means relationships based off of like... I know that like some INTJ in quotes has like made an assumption about him cheating. And so...
Yeah. But then he did it though, so...
Don't prove people right.
Is it really an assumption if you then do it? It's like...
Not really. It's more like a...
It's like a prophecy.
Yeah, it's like, I said you do it, and then you just did it.
Yeah. Anyway.
But, I think that's what he's more on about. I also don't understand why, like... Okay, like, an INTJ and an INFJ...
Yeah.
Having NI in a primary position could jump to more conclusions.
Yeah, that's true.
But an ISTJ and an ISTP, I wouldn't see the same correlation, I don't think. I think they would be more cautious.
ISTJs are typically, not always, there's always an exception.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But they're typically quite, like, they like to have as much kind of building blocks as possible to know what they do, and then they kind of observe what they've done in the past to understand what they do in the future.
Yeah.
And so they kind of get into like set routines as a result.
Yeah.
Which is very different from how an INTJ operates.
Yeah.
So I know about that.
And like,
I'm just not sure what he means by a lever situation. Does he mean like
you'll just get bored and stop?
And it's like, if you've accurately made a prediction that you're not going to enjoy a situation, then why should you not leave?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe all of these types are not very because you can't say these types are like decisive when it comes to social interactions, because then the INFJs are though. So,
yeah.
Like, and what would
he can't say they're all shitty with patterns.
Yeah.
Because two of them have it in the predominant position.
So what do you mean?
Yeah, I think it's just like not enough literal any progress.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't happen and they perceive stagnation, they have to leave.
Well, it could be a result of progress, you know, because I've like went to a party, realized that the way it was progressing was something that was going to cause conflict, and I left as a result. Like before it turned into conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would be the opposite of that happening.
I remember you both did that at one point as well.
Yeah, so it's like, I know about that.
Yeah, and that is progress.
Yeah.
It's progressing into a problem.
Yeah, so...
Not all progress is obviously good or fun progress.
Yeah, so I don't know about that.
Gangrene is a process.
Yeah, so...
It's not good.
You're working or in a relationship or handling somebody who is a see it through type, ISTJ, ISTP, INFJ, INTJ. those 4 types make sure that you're able to produce some kind of progress or assist in progress or not inhibit them from creating progress or the progress that they need. Progress is everything. They are movement types. They need movement. If movement slows, they will go crazy and it will have adverse effects on your relationship with that person. That's a fact. So, and if you're a control type in a relationship with a movement type, you need to be willing to allow for chaos in your relationship with your movement type person, because if not, you will lose them. You can't control their behavior. You can't expect them to follow your system all the time, right?
That's just good advice in general.
Yeah, don't be a controlling fuckwit.
Yeah, especially in relationships. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
So, good advice from C.S. Joseph.
But it's good advice for everybody.
Yeah, that's not a type-specific thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even movement types need control because their chaos can get them in trouble. And they need to adhere to some form of structure, some form of routine in their life in order for them to be successful.
All those groups are good at structure. What are you talking
Like
about?
INTJs, INFJs are really good at it.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Well, not in his system. An INTJ is like a whimsical fairy of willpower that, like, kind of just doesn't... They don't need structure. They just kind of will themselves through situations regardless of the consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he just watched Dragon Ball Z and was like, that's your INTJ. It's like mix Goku and like a fucking... and that guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, that is an INTJ in accordance to C.S. Joseph.
Which guy from Game of Thrones?
Littlefinger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just for the audience.
Yeah.
Successful. Otherwise, INTJs will be staying up till 4 and 5 in the morning all over the world, every single one of them, all the time. And it's the most frustrating.
I do that.
Yeah.
But that is then the structure, so...
That's true.
Yeah, if you just do it consistently, it just becomes a structure.
You follow a more structured like life than I do.
Yeah, it's true.
You're meant to be the one that's not structured.
Yeah, well, I'm good at making systems that just includes yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
I sort of like will put pieces together very slowly, so...
Yeah.
As a consequence, I don't have a proper structure. For example, I sleep around the clock, kind of like a cat.
Yeah, yeah.
Thing in the world. Kind of hard for them to see anything through and get any progress in their life if they're not having a regular sleeping pattern. But what INJ has a regular sleeping pattern? I don't know. I probably maybe met one that has that. That's weird, but that's just how they are. It's all about, so they need that additional structure that a control type can bring. It's very healthy for them, you know, because they lack that discipline to have that sleeping pattern. Now, some people, like even Jordan Peterson...
I mean, you haven't slept since you were a child.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, since I first discovered C.S Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of when it stopped.
Yeah.
Would say that that's a sign of immaturity. Okay, yeah, sure, it could be seen as a sign of immaturity, but it's these types, it's their natural proclivity to do that. It's not necessarily that they're mature or immature. I knew a very mature INFJ, mother of 4 children, that I went to church with when I was a little kid, and she would stay up till 4 in the morning on a regular basis, on top of having a job and raising children. And somehow she pulled it off, right? Well, she drank a lot of coffee, and then she ended up giving herself adrenal fatigue, and then she gained a whole bunch of weight because her hormones were...
So she didn't pull it off properly.
Yeah,
that was
so
very unhealthy.
She just ran herself into the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
He's spending a lot of time just ranting about sleep. Like, and it's all like kind of the same kind of pattern. It's like they can't sleep properly. They're just full of too much movement and chaos. The only real statement that he's kind of made is that, like, they have to double down on things and that they will cause chaos, which they then have to double down on.
Yeah.
That's the 2 major categories he has said.
Yeah, like he's made very few, which is what you'd expect from his type, actually.
That is true.
Very few actual claims.
Yeah. It's mainly him just explaining them.
Yeah.
So screwed up because, you know, women have a hard time producing testosterone when they have cortisol in their system because the caffeine is in their system every 18 hours. So what are you going to do, right? So regardless, better decisions could be made. But
you wouldn't drink as much coffee if it was having that effect on you, obviously.
Well, you should probably not. It's like
whatever. I don't care about this.
Look, I'm not gonna get all my medical knowledge from C.S. Joseph. Maybe what he said is true. Maybe it fucking isn't. I haven't got a clue. I'm not a doctor. And I know he isn't. But yeah, like obviously, don't drink so much coffee you engage in adrenal fatigue and then you run yourself into the fucking ground.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Any type out there, they need an ethical reason for something. They need a rational reason for something. They need a logical reason. They need something.
That's not true at all. They don't need a rational reason for stuff.
Or a logical
obviously. Look at history. Look at all the stupid decisions that were made systemically for generations.
And are still made.
Yeah.
Like, that hasn't stopped.
Yeah, that's true.
People make stupid decisions all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, people do not need a rational or a logical reason to do things.
Yeah, just look at how many subscribers he has. Like, not all of that is ironic.
No.
Not all of that
ours is ironic.
Like, not all of that is just because they like the comedic aspect.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Some outer force of some kind, and it's with every type, to try to change their behavior from the better. That's why no one type can do it all. That's why no one type is better than the others, right? And that's the same with interaction styles.
That's not why they're better than the others, but okay. I agree that there isn't an alpha type.
Like an alpha type.
Yeah, I agree that isn't the case.
No.
That's not the reason why, though.
No. And in his system, there clearly is an alpha type. Like, when he goes on to explain it later. In the last episode we did on him,
yeah,
being an INTJ is objectively, like, superior to being an ISTJ in his system.
Well, I don't know.
You have willpower powers.
But we're crazy.
Maybe it's like they're just too extreme to actually be an alpha type. There's too many dramatic and insane flaws to each group.
Yeah. It's like D&D monsters, but types.
Yeah.
Did you know in his system, he's actually got like the weapon that the type has?
Oh yeah, that's really cool.
He also has the magic. So when I was saying it was like D&D, it fucking is.
Yeah.
We should run like a D&D thing with C.S. Joseph logic.
I wish he would, like, he should sell that instead.
Yeah.
He should make like his own like D&D thing, and like that's the characters you get.
It'd probably make less money, but
it would make a really fun game.
It would be very fun, yeah.
Yeah. And we all like internally consistent.
No.
Well, I mean, the patterns are pretty consistent within themselves.
But they're not consistent with them, like, so the pattern is consistent, but with the other patterns he produces, they're not consistent with each other.
Oh, no. No, it's like consistency is only like in a video.
Yeah.
I think with C.S. Joseph, and then sometimes it breaks in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he'd have to work on that part, but I don't know if he could. His theory is just too removed from like something that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
To really be able to connect these patterns.
Yeah.
No one interaction style is better than the other, even though starter types can't finish what they start, even though see it through types can't start things that they finish. It's weird, but that's how we work, and that's why human beings are built for.
Where? I want to know where that happens.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Like where is the person that literally cannot finish what they start?
Yeah.
And where is the person that literally cannot start things? How do they fucking move? How do they do anything? Also, it says INTJs are like finisher types, right? They really have a lot of trouble starting things. That is in direct contradiction to being like a triple movement thing in this system, because you can just inject chaos if you get bored. So that is starting a thing.
Yeah.
Like, in case that's confusing, just doing a random chaotic action is starting something.
Yeah, that is a direct contradiction.
Yeah.
Because they should be able to cause chaos and
they should do it
do activities
three times the frequency.
Like, and then as a result of that, or they could get into chaotic situations to then make structures out of them.
Yeah. Which I presume that's how they function in his system.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, not that that's a good functioning. I genuinely feel a little bad for them. Like some sort of cursed existence of wanting chaos.
That seems like it's just a very obviously wrong claim.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
it's a very wrong claim about people. Because if
Yeah.
you walk outside and you look at people, you're like, this just doesn't happen. Society would be fucked if just like one INTJ was a thing. There would be like a massive problem.
John McAfee.
Okay, I guess he is, but he was a massive problem.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I guess if there were more of him around,
That would be way worse. Yeah.
yeah, very chaotic world we'd live in.
Yeah.
or relationships with each other so that we could partner up on tasks or projects and get things done and have mutual goals. The human race is designed for relationships. If you do not have relationships with people, that means you are a failure. Because in order for
It's true that humans are designed for relationships. That is true.
Yeah.
As for being a failure, that's a bit mean.
That's wow. It's like you not having a relationship, you're a failure.
That must be like how he perceives stuff.
Oh, yeah, I think
Like,
it is.
Being a primary F user would probably tend towards that kind of mentality.
Yeah. I do kind of understand the mentality from like another perspective of like it's useful to compensate for each other's weaknesses.
That's true, yeah.
So like you could build relationships specifically around that to build a system of like being quite effective because you're all compensating for each other's downfalls.
Yeah, it's like the concept of specialization put into a system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you could build relationships on that, and then that would be like I'm not saying that you necessarily should. I'm saying that is a model you could use.
Yeah, it would be quite successful, I think, as long as you both knew that you were doing it.
Yeah. And you were doing it for those reasons as well.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not saying that's how you should do relationships. That's not the claim.
for you to get anywhere in this life, you need to have relationships with people. You need to be interacting with other human beings. And that's inside your temperament and outside your temperament. And that's for all types, no matter what. All 16. So anyway, in review.
Yeah, okay, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the four types that are the see it through types, ISTJ, ISTP, INTJ, INFJ. They are the direct, responding, movement types. Mean what they say what they mean, responding, not initiating, and they prefer movement over control. Just make sure that they got progress and you will have a great relationship with these people. So that about sums up the see it through types. The next up interaction style, the final interaction style is going to be behind the scenes, and that's going to be the next video. And then I'm going to do a review video which will talk about how to use the temperaments and the interaction styles to literally type anybody, including yourself, with 100% accuracy without a freaking test. So you know 100%, okay, this person is XYZ type. And then you can start understanding their cognitive functions and having a better...
Yeah, so
That's impressive.
as we were saying earlier, the problem with using these definitions to type people, which he's just said that he's doing,
Yeah, he's definitely doing it.
means that because the definitions are so vague and then they mean everything. So
Yeah.
it means you're just typing people in a nonsensical fashion.
That's true.
Like-
That'll lead to probably contradictive typing like types if you were to look at them in two different places.
Yeah, because like, which he actually has done. Like he's seen someone and then typed them as a type, and
Yeah.
in the future he's seen the same person and he's typed the same person as a different type, because
that's fun.
that is what he's doing, and that's the results you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
As opposed to our system where you type people the same way every time.
Yeah.
Because it's not something they can control, and it's not something you can shift out of, at least. If you can change your type, which I don't think you can, but if you figure out how to like majorly change your brain chemistry,
fundamentally overhaul your systems.
yeah, and if you figure out how to do that, then
I guess you could do it.
yeah. But anyway, that's unlikely.
That seems unlikely and potentially quite dangerous.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess
We'll probably cut the video here, like with C.S. Joseph.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a wonderful day.
I do want to mention, because I think I did learn a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
And because I understand your interaction style now a lot better. I didn't want to tell you this at the beginning of the podcast, but I have set something on fire in the house, and I can't tell you where it is, but I know that it'll deepen our bond because it's going to create a lot of chaos.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm glad.
And I'll
so that is the smell. And
I'll focus on expanding your intentions there. So
well, I guess when you hear from us again, you know the house didn't burn down.
Yes.
See you guys next time.